Everyone says that you need to hustle in data analytics. Be the first one in and be the last one out. Check every report manually because this shows dedication. But here's the truth. I'm kind of lazy, and that's what made me great at my job. So today I'm going to show you a 3-part framework that allows me to do something in 2 hours that it would take another data analyst 2 days to do. But let me tell you about the time my laziness actually got me promoted. So hi, if you're new, my name is Zazo. I've been in data analytics for 4 years, and prior to that, I was in software engineering. I'm currently a senior data analyst. Now let me tell you about the time where being lazy actually got me promoted. So when I first started in data analytics, I thought being a good analyst meant doing everything the hard way. Literally manually checking Excel spreadsheets, reports, and even dashboard metrics line by line and looking through each thing just to say I was dedicated and I was working hard. And doing this actually made me very miserable to do the same repetitive work over and over and over each week. So here's where the kicker comes in. I started automating things, and it's not because I'm some type of genius. Like I said, I'm lazy. So I didn't want to do the same thing over and over again, the same boring mess. And I wanted to focus on things that really piqued my interest and that I wanted to do more of. So being able to automate these things early on for me just being lazy actually turned to a completely different thing and actually made me the go-to person for automation. So here's what I'm going to be covering today. The first thing is why laziness is perfect for data analytics, also known as the laziness advantage. When you are inherently lazy, you think of ways to not do something, in this case, manually. And that's exactly what I did. The second thing is 3 types of tasks that you should probably automate immediately. And the third thing is the compounding effect. When you stack multiple automations together, and stick around because at the end I'm going to tell you a story about how I automated pretty much my whole job, which could be either a dumb decision or one of the smartest decisions I've made. I'll get more into that later. So now we're going to go into the laziness advantage. So when you're lazy, naturally you have this tendency to not be able to tolerate repetitive, boring, monotonous work. So in data analytics, that's kind of perfect because like 80% of the job can be automated, or most of the parts can be automated. So for in data analytics, this is perfect because like 80% of the tasks are repetitive. You clean data probably the same way. You write some of the queries the same way. You do dashboard refreshes and write the same reports. So a lot of the stuff is very manual and repetitive, which makes it perfect for automation. So most people will just accept that this is part of the job. But lazy people will normally say, if I already had to do this twice and I know I'm gonna have to do it 50 more times, I'm going to automate it so I never have to really think about this again. So a lot of people would think this is some type of character flaw, but it's not, because it gets you thinking in systems, which is actually what separates the good analysts from the great ones. So here's how to start. Every time you do a task, just think, could I automate this? Not should I automate this. Should will just get you in the mindset of it's not worth it. I'd rather just do this manually. Because at first you'll probably automate a task that takes 30 minutes and it'll take you 2 hours to automate it. But that's not the point here. Over time, you're able to spot these things that can be automated and it'll make a bigger and bigger impact. Like I said, there's a story of when I automated pretty much 6 hours of my 8-hour shift, but it didn't start this way. So next I'm going to show you what's actually worth automating. So everything is not worth automating. So now I'm going to give you my framework to determine what are the things you should be automating, or which of the things you should definitely automate first. So type 1 is high frequency, low tasks. So this is something that you do maybe on a weekly, daily basis, but it is very low complexity. So that's stuff like if you're pulling the same report every single week, sending the same email, or even refreshing the same data for a dashboard, this is a clear sign that this could probably be automated. This will give you some quick wins and save you hours each month. Now the second thing is the error-prone task. So if making a typo can really affect this task in a big way, that is something that you might want to automate. Because if the difference is you adding an extra 0, can make a huge difference on what executives see or whoever is using your reports or anything like that, then this is something that needs to be automated to avoid these errors. Type number 3 is tasks that block other people. I'm gonna tell you why this is so great. So this is a process where if somebody is waiting for you to finish your process before they can do any of their work, then you are the bottleneck. And automating this task will make you look like a hero, because as soon as you remove that bottleneck, that person and their stress levels are going to decrease significantly because they never have to worry about waiting on your work again. So here's how I would implement it. Basically write a list of all the tasks that you did last week and put either an F, E, or B by it. F meaning it's a frequent task, E meaning it's an error-prone task, and B meaning it's a bottleneck task. Whichever one of those tasks has more than one letter, this is where you can start first. So keep this simple. Do not overcomplicate this at first. You could just write a simple Python script that does some simple stuff first. And once you have a few of these running, this is where the compounding effect comes into place. So when you automate one task, it saves a little bit of time. But when you start automating 5 or 6, then something really weird starts to happen. You're not just saving time, you're actually freeing up mental space and not having to continuously context switch between doing this report, refreshing this data, doing this, doing that. And you're actually able to start thinking more strategically rather than just worrying about the little minute tasks here and there. So here's a real example for you. I automated a report that took about 3 hours. The quality check took about 2 hours. So that's 5 hours in total. So on paper, it looks as though that I just saved 5 hours. But in theory, that's almost like a whole working day. And in that case, I could spend time thinking more strategically, analyzing trends and doing other things rather than just constantly switching between task and task and task. So it really does something amazing when these small automations start to compound. So this is a crazy thing. Coworkers were working hard, always looking busy and doing all of these different things because they were focused on the tasks at hand. But in reality, I was getting more stuff done, even though it may not look like it. It was done better, more quality, and just more volume over time. So how you're gonna create this is you're gonna create basically a repository or a library of little scripts, queries, and things that you've automated, and you're just gonna kind of put them in a repository so that way it just becomes plug and play. You're not just saving time on future tasks, you're actually building leverage, because each time you make an automation, you make the next task easier to automate. So now I'm gonna tell you the story about how I pretty much automated my job. All right, so as an entry-level analyst, you kind of get handed with this very lower priority task, or I work in marketing analytics, so channel, if you will. And I was kind of doing the same thing over and over. Managers would reach out, they would request a simple report, and I would send it out. So me not thinking at the time, me looking back at it now, actually realizing that I was pretty much automating that whole portion of my job. I didn't think about it then. It was really fun and it seemed like a real good challenge for me to do. So I automated it. I automated the process of receiving the email, taking what's in the email, writing the report, and then sending it back out to the manager. Obviously, quality checks in place and things like that. So I was probably saving around 6 to 7 hours on my day. And this could have been bad, because if my role could have been automated, then what was the reason for me being there? However, my management saw this as an opportunity to put me on bigger and higher level projects because I didn't have to worry about these small tasks over here. And surprisingly, because of this, I actually got promoted. And currently, my specialization or my area, management saw that it was a very good opportunity and a very necessary role, and now I am the go-to person for automation and process improvement. So they pretty much made a branch for me and put me in that position because I was automating and improving processes kind of constantly. So laziness is actually a strategic advantage. A lot of lazy people refuse to do the same work over and over and over again, and this can really be a superpower rather than a character flaw. Remember to automate the 3 types, which is going to be high frequency, error-prone tasks, and then obviously the last but not least, the bottleneck tasks. Remember that the compounding effect makes the next automation easier, so don't be afraid to trade a little bit of time to write that small script to automate and help the next automation. So here's a challenge for you. By the end of the week, automate something very small, and leave me a comment about what you're planning to automate. Love, peace, and chicken grease.